Hey everybody, it's Shuttle, back with another Kerbal Space Program Principia Wacky Orbits video. I'm just going to show off a near rectilinear halo orbit today, which sounds very complicated, but you'll see soon that really it's not that much craziness compared to the other stuff that I've done. The Lunar Gateway was going to be a space station around the moon that utilised this orbit for several reasons that we'll get to. But it was just recently cancelled and replaced with a lunar surface-based plan, which I am much more in favour of. So personally, I'm happy, but it does mean we're not going to get to see this cool orbit outside of the Capstone mission, and I think one other one that was a couple of years ago. So in honour of this type of orbit, I did this video quickly. I just got back from Germany, which was very nice in my personal life, so yeah, that's why I've not had a video out for a week, but I'm trying to see if weekly works at the moment. This space shuttle build, I'm just going to pivot to that now because it's very cool. I'm very pleased with it. It took a very long time to get this working exactly how I like it, but I've been using it for a while now for little payloads like this, and it works a wonder. We're just going to be doing a little satellite this time because it helps me demonstrate one of the advantages of this type of orbit. And now we're getting ready to deorbit and land this thing back at the Space Centre. If you want to do this yourself, I know it's quite a challenging thing in stock Kerbal Space Program, so I use the trajectories mod, and that helps me plan a re-entry. I'm just getting the spacecraft set up. You can use the target and descend tabs to set your target centre and your re-entry parameters, and you should get a rough idea of where you're going to land. I usually have my final landing point, which is the red plus, a bit further out than where I'm going to land, just so I have a bit of wiggle room. Re-entering now, and most of the work with this shuttle was built around getting it to work during re-entry. I'm using atmospheric autopilot, makes piloting a bit easier and more realistic, and I'm starting to do some S-turns here because it helps me lose altitude and thus lose my speed quickly because I'm hitting the thicker part of the atmosphere sooner. The real space shuttle did this in much a similar fashion, so having this work on a stock shuttle was really neat. You can see now on the track there the S-turns do change my direction, so they did role reversals where they do a turn in one direction and then a turn in another direction. Now I'm just manually flying it back. Landing's always a bit of a tricky one when you're starting off. I've got some real world piloting experience, so that does help, but yeah, it's never easy, especially when you're trying to target the runway in Kerbal Space Program and you've not done it before. It could be really frustrating because you're always overshooting and undershooting, and that's again where trajectories comes in handy. And also this mod, the heads-up display, Kerbal heads-up display I think it's called, just gives you an idea of where you're going. Do a little flare here and just bring it gently down. I always deploy the chute just before touchdown to make sure everything is nice and smooth. And there we are. That's how you land a shuttle. Back to the payload. This is the part of the video that a lot of people might want to see, is this crazy orbit. So the way we're going to do it is we're going to get into basically a home and transfer, but we're going to hit one of the poles, in this case the south pole of the moon, and then we're just going to get a capture here. Now, one issue with this satellite was that I only had one battery pack on it, and I'm using a xenon engine, so I had to keep firing it, stopping, recharging the battery, which thankfully doesn't take too long, and then firing it and then recharging and firing it. I should have put more batteries on it. I rarely ever use ion engines in this game, so I completely forgot that I need lots and lots of battery power, but I do have an RTG attached, so I can just recharge the battery, no problem. The way this orbit works is you want a really eccentric orbit, preferably one where you fly out very far from the South Pole and then you come in very close in the North Pole. And that's where the term rectilinear comes from. A rectilinear orbit is a straight line, and so a near rectilinear orbit is as eccentric as you can possibly get it. And the reason we want to do that is because we want to hit a Lagrange point, which is a point in space where a spacecraft can stay relatively still compared to some other bodies. I'm going to make a video on that at some point because they're very cool as well. But we're exploiting some gravity here essentially to make sure that the spacecraft doesn't get blocked from Earth's view. So we go out, away from the moon's sphere of influence, let Earth pull us back round, and as we come back to the moon, we then curve round in such a fashion that the Earth never goes out of sight. In normal Kerbal Space Program, if you had a polar orbit like this, there'd be certain points in the moon's orbit where you'd be blocked because it doesn't do this n-body physics, and you can see how it works. I'm always in contact with the Earth, and essentially I'm tidally locked with the Earth is the best way to think about it. And this one's quite easy to achieve actually if you've got plenty of delta V to muck around with like I have. That's why I bought the ion engine. But that's pretty much it. It's a pretty straightforward little orbit, and I really quite enjoyed setting this one up. It was a bit easier to do than my other two that I've done, which were the distant retrograde orbit and the capture, the ballistic capture. Those are very finicky. This one's not too tricky. If you want to try it yourself, essentially get a very eccentric lunar orbit where your apsis is really far out to the South Pole, about 7 million kilometers, because that's about where the Lagrange point I think is. Not 7 million kilometers, I think it's 7,000 kilometers, 7 million meters, something like that. You'll see it on the video anyway. And then you get your periapsis as close as you can. You should make sure your repeat orbits don't crash. That is a problem. As it's adjusting throughout the orbits, your periapsis will come up and down a little bit, so you want a bit of wiggle room. But then you're set up pretty much. You can have a satellite with a constant connection to Kerbin following the moon around, which is very cool and not doable in normal Kerbal Space Program because of patch conics. So give it a go yourself, see what you think, and let me know if you guys want to see any other crazy orbits. Might do some Lagrange points or something. But yeah, I appreciate you watching. Thank you very much.